even when I go home and make banana bread, my brain shuts off.
Yeah.
And you do the 3 bananas, and it's the standard thing you've made for 30 years.
That's right.
And you think it tastes good.
It tastes decent.
Yeah, it doesn't taste bad until you've had great banana bread.
Yeah.
So one of the things we tried to do was say, it doesn't have enough banana flavor. Let's stuff bananas into the recipe. Just add more bananas, which
Easy
is
enough.
what we did here. And you get an incredibly dense, fleshy, moist,
gummy,
heavy banana bread.
But the flavor's amazing.
Flavor's great, texture's terrible. You have been elected to solve that problem.
I have. So we want to pack more bananas into banana bread. The first thing we thought of was banana chips. All the flavor, none of the moisture, which is what makes that bread so leaden. But we found out that banana chips actually don't have a ton of banana flavor because they're cut and sliced and dried when they're not ripe. And if you compare this lightly speckled banana to a really heavily ripened banana, this has 3 times more sugar because during the ripening process, of course, starch converts to sugar, and it happens very quickly, especially at this stage. So, really important that you use super ripe bananas. So we were left with the question of how to put more bananas into banana bread without all their moisture, so we figured we'd take the moisture out. First thing that came to our mind was freezing bananas. You have a spare banana or 2 left over at the end of the week, you throw it in the freezer so you don't lose it.
But that works. I mean, the liquid comes out, right?
Oh yeah, when those bananas thaw, you get cups of liquid coming out. So it made great banana bread, but it was kind of, again, a pain. Who's going to throw bananas in the freezer for a day to then make banana bread? So what we did is we want to replicate the liquid coming out. Instead of using the freezer, we're going to go in the other direction, and we're going to heat them up in the microwave. Because unlike cooking them in a saucepan, the microwave cooks from the inside out. It happens really very quickly, so you don't wreck the flavor while you're drawing out the moisture. So we're going to take 5 bananas. We're going to cover with plastic wrap. Poke a few vent holes. We're going to put this in the microwave on high power for about 5 minutes until they release all of their liquid. All right, it's been 5 minutes. And you can see all of this banana liquid that's come out of the bananas. Now, this banana liquid is really flavorful. Of course, you can't just add it as it is. It would make the bread too moist. So we're going to drain it out and then later reduce it down to a syrup and add it back to the batter. All right. Meanwhile, we're going to whisk together the dry ingredients of our quick bread, which is pretty simple. 1 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour. There's 1/2 teaspoon salt and 1 teaspoon baking soda. Whisk it together in a big bowl and set it aside until later. All right, so our microwaved bananas have been sitting here and straining.
Can I just say this doesn't really look really appealing?
It doesn't.
I mean, it smells great.
It does.
The whole kitchen smells like banana, but
I know, it smells good.
Looks terrible, smells good.
Yeah.
What can I tell you? There you go.
Well, we're going to mash it up and put it in a batter, so it'll be great.
Okay.
So you can see all this liquid that's drained out of the bananas. We're going to put it into a saucepan. If you could put that over medium-high heat, please. We're going to cook this down until it measures about 1/4 cup. And we can add that 1/4 cup of intense banana juice back into the batter, and that'll give it that knock-your-socks-off banana flavor. All right, so this has been simmering away and reducing for about 5 minutes. You can see it's this nice, thick banana syrup.
Well, you can smell it. I mean, it's got great banana flavor.
So we're going to take these bananas that were microwaved and are very softened, and this reduced juice, we're going to mash them together with a potato masher, get it mostly smooth.
We're starting low down on the visual acceptance scale.
It's not a looker at this point, but wait till you see the finished loaf. It's a beauty. Just want to make sure there are no big pieces of banana hanging out. Now, we're going to mix the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients. So for the wet ingredients, we have our bananas. We're going to add a stick of melted butter. We're going to add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. We're going to add 2 eggs. We're going to whisk this together. Into this, we're also going to stir in 3/4 cup of brown sugar. We're going to whisk it until there's no lumps of brown sugar left and it starts to dissolve. Okay, that looks pretty good. So that's our wet ingredients. We're going to stir the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients. And at this point, you don't want to over-stir the batter or else you'll build up too much gluten. A few streaks of flour left in the batter are okay. And these are optional. They're walnuts, want one? They're good, they're toasted.
Why would they be optional?
I don't know, they're good, aren't they? So that's 1/2 cup of toasted walnuts, and we'll just fold them in. Now, if you could prep that pan for me, that's an 8.5 by 4.5 inch loaf pan, and just spray it with baking spray. All right, so we have 5 bananas in this banana bread now that we microwaved. Of course, we couldn't help but add a 6th banana. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna slice the banana into 1/4-inch thick slices on the diagonal. And we're gonna shingle the bananas down the side of the loaf, not in the center, of course, because you don't want to impede the rising of the loaf as it bakes in the oven. And we'll do the other side. All right, so now we're gonna sprinkle a little sugar over the top. This is 2 teaspoons of sugar. You just want to sprinkle this over the top of the loaf nice and evenly. And it makes this nice, smooth crust on the top that's sort of shiny and crackly. It also candies these bananas on the side, makes them unbelievable. Into a moderate 350-degree oven on the middle rack. So this bread has been baking for about an hour, and of course, halfway through, I rotated the baking pan so the bread will cook evenly, and this bread is perfectly done. So we're gonna let the bread cool on a wire rack for about 15 minutes, let the bread firm up, then we're gonna remove the loaf from the pan and let the loaf cool until it's either warm or at room temperature before we taste it. This bread has been cooling for a while, so it's just a little bit warm. And we're ready to slice into it. Isn't it a looker?
Well, it went from the worst looking to the best looking.
Yeah. So you can see, unlike those other breads where you shoved the 5 or 6 bananas in the loaf and they were doorstops, this isn't. This actually has a cakey interior.
This is delicious.
Isn't it good?
That is delicious. So who knew the secret to great banana bread was more bananas? Instead of 3, we use 5. We microwave them for 5 minutes, and that way the juice comes out. Reduced it down to a 1/4 cup, added that back to batter. Finished off with 1 last banana, number 6, sliced on top with a little sugar into the ovens. So from America's Test Kitchen to your kitchen, a fabulous recipe for the perfect banana-y banana bread. Cut that out. There you go. This is delicious.